Welcome to groups. In this video we're going to demonstrate how do you set up groups in Moodle. So under your administration block you would want to go to the users and then you would click on groups. Groups can be applied to assignments, quizzes, forums, really any activity or resource that we have in Moodle you can use groups in. So the first thing that you need to do is create a group. When you create a group, you identify the group name. I'm going to create groups because I generally have more than one course section in a class. So instead of managing two course shells, I have both of my sections that are exactly the same in one course shell. And so by creating separate groups for their CRNs, it makes it easier at grading time to just pull out students from certain CRNs. I'm going to go ahead and save changes. And I can create another group. Once I have the groups created, I can also use the auto-create groups where Moodle will go in and you set up the pattern of how you want the groups to be called, and it will automatically create multiple groups for you and then put students in it randomly or by certain name identifications, etc. So the first thing is once you create the groups, then you can select the group that you want to add users to. So I've selected it in my group list, and then I click add and remove users, and it'll give me a list of students in my course, so I can select the students that I want to include in that particular group. So I've clicked on the first student in the list, held down shift, and touched the last student in the list. I could also do randomly or non-adjacent. I select one, hold down control, and select which students belong in that list so I can add multiple. Of course, you can add them one by one, just clicking on them and clicking add. Once you have all the students in your list on this side, these are potential members and these are the group members. Then you can click back to groups where it'll show you in parentheses you have 5 members in that group. Then I can click on the next group and add users to it, which essentially gives me my potential users again. Notice the students who are already in a group are still in this list. Notice it says 1 in parentheses indicating they're already part of one group. So I would want the students who are not currently in a group and add them and click back to groups. So now I have 2 groups with 5 and 6 members each. The other thing that you might need to create are called groupings. And groupings are essentially ways for you to combine multiple groups into one area. So of course you would create a grouping the same as you did a group. You type in a name, and then you can just assign or show the groups that you want to be included in that particular list. So I'm selecting both of those groups and adding them and go back to groupings. Now groupings is not required. You can, it's just another level of grouping that allows you to maybe separate out activities based on what type of group they are. Maybe use multiple groups in your course for different activities, so this would allow you to rearrange the students without having to regroup them each time. You could keep them in specific groups. So maybe you have students in groups by their major or by an interest level, and they could stay in that group the entire time but work with other students on projects based on the fact that you create groupings to merge them together. So once you've created the groups or groupings or both, then you can go into your individual activities, so assignments, forums, quizzes, and you can apply the setting for a group. So if I go into forums, which is probably for me the most common way that I use grouping is I use groups to complete assignments. So when I have groups, I would ask students to participate in a discussion forum that is specific to their group. So once I have the forum open, of course I could have had my editing turned on and just clicked on edit, but instead I went into the forum, going to my administration block and clicking edit settings. Then I can scroll down to common module settings and I can identify whether or not I'm using groups. So right now it says no groups. I would go ahead and choose separate or visible groups. The difference is separate groups, only the group members can see that, in this case, forum. Or visible groups would mean everybody can see every forum, but they would just work in their own group. I find that visible groups gets kind of confusing because they can see everything and sometimes they accidentally post in the wrong group. I like separate groups because students then only see what they are working on and not grabbing other stuff. If I have groupings set up, then I could also identify which grouping it is for. If I'm not using groupings, I'd leave it as none. And then save and display, or save and return to your course. So in quizzes and forums, it's the common module settings. The other thing is in assignments. If I go into one of my assignments and under administration click edit settings, I would be able to scroll down to group submission settings. The big difference here is with forums, they're just simply working and collaborating. So it's posting, it's not really turning something in. In an assignment, there are submissions, so you have to identify whether or not it is for groups. And then also, will you require everyone in the group to submit something? Sometimes you have a team leader and you ask only that team leader to submit the finalized project because everybody was contributing to one document. But if you have multiple documents you need turned in, then you might want to choose yes. And then, of course, again, groupings. If this was for specific projects, then you would set that grouping level if you had it. And then save and return to course. And what happens is now that the groups have been set, that you have students in each group, then they're going to see when they look at the forum that activity. So I'm going to take you over to a course that I teach at another institution, and in this course it's a career success course, so we do some collaboration at the end of the semester. So in this course I want to go into my forums. You'll see I have forums set up. It's the end of the semester here. I only had to create one forum for each group. So in this course I have an Adobe team, a Google team, Microsoft team, and a miscellaneous team, etc. So each one of these groups is researching different products, and they're writing together collaboratively that research project. So no, I created the Adobe team forum. So within this forum, because I said in the settings that this forum is a group setting, only the participants of this group are able to post in this particular forum. So here you can see the group is the Adobe team tools. So when they come in here, only those group members are able to post in here. So then they can type in a forum and then they begin their collaboration. I have them actually sharing their documents in the forums and working on it. So they take that document back and forth and they share it. If I go back to the Adobe team project, I can quickly up here, looking at separate groups, look at different groups within there. Now because I created a forum for the Adobe team project, of course only the Adobe team project would be posting in that group. So when I toggle to the separate group for Google tools, Notice there's no discussion from the Google because they are not posting in the Adobe Team project. If I go back to the forum for all the courses and scroll down to the Google team, I can then see what it is that the Google team has been posting in their particular forum. So this makes it really nice and easy to look at activities that students are doing. The other thing that I really like about using these features is when I go and they actually submit, because I do use groups in the assignment submissions. When I go look at the one assignment, so in here this networking assignment, they have, this was based on their activities. Actually, a different assignment. That was not a group assignment. Their collaboration assignment in here that's working in their teams. So when I go in to view and grade their submissions, I can see all of my students in my class and their submissions, but more importantly, I can toggle very quickly between each of the individual groups. So when I do that, I only see the members in that group, and I can quickly grade all of their activity just for those 4 or 5 members that are in that group, and then toggle between the different individual groups. So it makes grading much easier when you're doing collaborative type of assignments where you have students submitting activities and sharing projects, so you can quickly choose how do you see those groups. So this is working with groups. It's a very powerful feature. It just happens in the background, so notice that nothing's really changed on my course homepage. When I look at my users, there's nothing different about them. The students don't even see anything different on their end. It's only when they participate in these activities where you have specified them to be in groups that they'll see that they only have access to certain types of forums or certain types of activities. So I hope that you like groups and you start to use them.